the Gaming Committee meeting to order. I've got a couple minutes after 9. Appreciate everybody coming this morning. We are not going to be taking up any legislation, but felt like it was important for the committee to meet to get an update on status of things with the Gaming Commission and Lottery Corporation. We will be out of here prior to 10 so we can be back on the floor. So we're going to start with Mr. Alan Godfrey, the Director of the Mississippi Gaming Commission. Mr. Godfrey, you're recognized. Mr. Godfrey, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you got to have the little green light on the microphone there because we are streaming this.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
you very much.
I'm happy to report we still have 26 properties given the year that we just came through. Last year we did see a decline of gross gaming revenue of roughly 18%. In 2019 we had $2.2 billion of gross gaming revenue. In 2020 we had $1.8 billion of gross gaming revenue. Now that's being closed for roughly 70 days. Good news is people still like to bet on sports. 2019, $370 million of legal money was placed, wagers were placed. It was $365 million of legal wagers placed last year. Again, with sports not going on in 70 days of being closed down. So I'd say there's still a lot of enthusiasm for that. The state tax revenue, fiscal year 2020 was $215 million, and that's down from $260 million from FY 2019. Obviously, all regions were down due to the COVID, and the coast had additional issues with all of the storms that came through. I think there were probably 4 or 5 different hurricanes, none that were directly affected us, but they all had, it stopped people from coming. I will say this on a positive note, though. The industry is very optimistic about 2021. And 2020 actually was not a bad year for them. Even though the numbers were down, they were with 50% I guess 50% limitation, capacity limitation, had a lot less slot machines in operation. They had the right 50% of people coming into their properties. So they were actually didn't do too poorly. I will say, on a going forward basis, the casino industry may not be what it has been in the years past. Some of these options, like buffets, they're going to change the way they're doing business. In 2008, in the recession, they changed a lot of business practices then due to decline in revenue. And this COVID has made them look at how they're doing their business now. And so when you go to one, you may not see all the options as you used to see in 2018, 2019. And I know this isn't a meeting about sports wagering, but I felt like I needed to at least let you know something about what other states are doing and how it's affecting us. In November, Tennessee opened up they don't have any premises, so it's all mobile sports wagering. Sports wagering in North Mississippi for August through September was roughly $12 million a month. November, it went down to $10 million, and December went down to $8.7 million. Okay, so all that's saying is when other people open up something like they did in Tennessee, it directly affects Mississippi. And that's the impact of gaming around us. Now, as we all know, and I said this before, Louisiana is going to get mobile sports wagering. We don't know what product they're going to go with, and it may be a couple of years, but they're going to have it. Tennessee's already got a off-premise mobile application, and you can see the effect it's had on Mississippi. Arkansas, I don't know what they're thinking about doing, but if they change their option, then it could hurt us also. So, anyway, just want to let you know about that, and I'll be happy to take questions.
Any members of the committee have questions for Mr. Godfrey? Senator Delano.
Good morning, Director. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Yes, sir.
You gave some numbers for sports wagering in the state, and I want to say it was around 380 million, roughly.
370 last year and 365 this year.
Okay, and that's dollars that were wagered, correct?
Yes.
And of that number, how much did we derive in tax revenue from wagering, sportsbook?
Let's see, well, you have to take 12% of $44 million. That was what was taxable.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Senator Moran.
There we go. Thank you so much for coming this morning. When you mentioned that the drop from 2019 to 2020, 2.2 to 1.8, or no, it was 20. What was it? What was the numbers in 19?
19 was $2.2 million of gross gaming revenue, and is 1.8.
Is that's the state as a collective? How does it break down coast versus Tunica?
For calendar year 2020, the Tunica region was $470 million. Lower River region, which is your Natchez, Vicksburg, Greenville, was $245 million roughly, and the coastal region was maybe $1.1 billion. And those are 2020 numbers.
I believe, Mr. Godfrey, you've got this in a handout which goes out.
I've got it in something I can send to you, yes.
Well, if you get with the committee assistant, we'll provide that to all the members of the committee.
Okay.
I guess my question, what I was getting at, is trying to figure out just, and you presented some numbers, how much of effect Tennessee has had on our northern area, Tunica.
Well, Tunica has been going down for a number of years. The sports wagering, which is a small part of it, I mean, $12 million of gross gaming revenue or wagered in a month for August, September, October, and then it dropped down to 8 million, a little over 8 million by December, which was the second month that the wagering was going on. That's just the sports wagering. If you want to know for calendar year, Tunica region is down about 100, from 582 million down to 470 million. So it's been affected.
And then as the possibility of Arkansas and Louisiana coming online could further hurt us as far as the sports betting.
Louisiana will have a major impact on us because that is a major market for the Gulf Coast.
Because now folks are coming over to place a sports bet, and while they're there, they're in the casino. If they
Yes,
can
they are.
stay home and bet, they're not as likely to come over.
I would think if they can do it in their own state, why would they come to our state? But that's just an assumption.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Godfrey, before you sit down, I did have a couple of questions. First, we all have an interest in growing the economy and in the industry being successful. You also have the responsibility, though, not to the industry, but to the public as a whole, to the public at large, to regulate this industry. And obviously you monitor the economic health of the industry, but from a regulatory standpoint, is there anything that you need, or is there anything that you're doing differently to protect the general public and the customers?
Well, we have Obviously, there's the illegal side of it, and our numbers from a staff standpoint are down from 128 to 101. That's how many positions I have filled. My what I call CID unit that goes after the illegal side is down to 4. So I'm not able to do as much in that area as I'd like. From a regulatory standpoint, we're looking at, I guess this pandemic across the country, across this industry, is forcing people to look at more cashless, paperless type things. So we are looking at that. I don't think we need to change statutes for us to do that. I think the statutes have enough flexibility for us to do that. But that's something that we will probably, the industry wants it, and it's something I think it's, the fewer people you have involved in transactions, the more likely it is to take out that shrinkage.
And one thing that has been on my mind since the advent of the lottery is the impact on the charitable bingo operations in the state, which I know you regulate from a gaming perspective. Are you seeing anything there, or are bingos declining now that people have other ways to sort of
Other opportunities to spend their money?
Yeah.
Senator, the lottery has not hurt the casino industry, and I don't think it's hurt the charitable gaming industry. What we see is fewer halls, charitable bingo halls, but the amount of money that's still going to charity is not that different. So I don't think it's affected us at all.
And you're comfortable with the status of that little niche industry in the state, and that it's actually, the money is primarily going to help the charities that we are intended to benefit from it?
I think as far as we can tell, it's going to a charity. Now, what the charity does with it is beyond our control.
That's the Secretary of State's office.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Senator Delano, did you have a follow-up question on that? You're recognized.
Director, I know that you are a regulator and you're not an analyst or financial analyst, but you do keep tabs of what's going on around the Southeast and our other competing markets, or markets that we compete with. With respect to gaming revenues, and I know we saw a little dip down over the last year for obvious reasons, but there's got to be some anticipation or something that you watched to help guide you on where you think revenues will be in the future. I know that Mississippi has several billion-plus-dollar projects that have been proposed. Where do you, and again, I'm just asking you to pontificate for 1 second here, where do you see gaming revenues in our state going with the, in the future, and what competitive pressures will be added that will influence the amount of increase or decrease that we will see in gaming revenues in our state?
Well, we went from almost a $3 billion industry in 2007 to a low, last year we crawled back to 2.2, okay? And now there's gaming everywhere. When we were at the 3 billion, there wasn't gaming in Arkansas, Alabama, Ohio, things like that. So, Pennsylvania, all places that we may pull from. Where I see gaming, we just got back to 2.2. The pandemic hits, we went back down to 1.8. Now you've got other issues such as mobile sports wagering around other states. You do have some projects that have been written about. I have not seen a proposal, but they have been written well in the paper. Hopefully they will come to fruition, and I think it's going to take something big to really bring people back. But if you ask me to pontificate on where gaming revenue's going, I don't think we'll ever see $3 billion again. I'd like to think that we can continue some momentum and build this thing back up to 2.2, 2.3. And I think that's obviously you've got properties that are operating and still operating at that level, and our operators are very sharp, good businessmen, and they will they'll be profitable at that stage. So, I mean, it's a strong market. There's no doubt about it. It's always going to be strong. But I do think that there are challenges that are out there that are going to affect us that we have no ability to change whatsoever.
I have one more question, but before I ask it, I want to make sure any other members of the committee have any other questions. No. The commission, the gaming commission is 3 people appointed by the governor. You have, as I understand it, one of those people will be leaving the commission at the end of next week, leaving the commission with 2 members as of March 1st. Have you received any word on the status of whether that person will be reappointed or will have a new appointment to that position? And first, do I have my facts right on that? And have you received any information on either a reappointment or a new appointment so we can have a fully staffed 3-member commission?
I have not, no.
Okay, great. Thank you for coming, Mr. Godfrey. We always appreciate your hard work and
Yep.
insight.
Thank you.
Next is Mr. Tom Shaheen, the president of the Mississippi Lottery Commission. Mr. Shaheen, thank you for coming. I think that microphone is still on, but you're recognized to tell us what we need to know about how the lottery is doing in Mississippi.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Senators. Pleasure to be here this morning. As you're probably aware, we've been a little busy over there for the last couple of weeks, and we have another busy week coming this week. We had a good fiscal year last year. We were only a 7-month fiscal year because we didn't start until almost the last week of November. Our sales were about $319 million when all was said and done, and we had a return to the state of $70.7 million for that partial fiscal year. For this year, started out a bit strong in July, and then as the summer proceeded, it slowed down considerably, and now we are back up to where we should be. As far as budget, we have a transfer today of $9.8 million for December, which brings our total transfer to over $51 million for the first 6 months. Our budget for the first 6 months was $45.8 million, so we're running ahead on our transfer. Plus, we're going to have a pretty strong transfer for January, so I continue to believe that our budget will continue to exceed what we predicted. We projected $91.7 million for this fiscal year, return to the state. We anticipate surpassing that since we're already at the halfway point. Sales year-to-date so far, and these are gross sales, are $254 million. Our budget is $197 million, so again, we're ahead there. The last 2 weeks has been good. You know, as you may be aware, we started selling Powerball and Mega Millions on January 30th of last year. There was about a $190 million jackpot maybe at that time, and it hit the night before, our first day of our sales, and we have not seen, Mississippi has not seen a large jackpot on either game until the last couple of months. We are now in the 36th drawing for this, what we call a run-up, is where each time the jackpot rolls for each game. Mega Millions is at $850 million for tonight. Powerball is at $730 million for tomorrow. We've had several smaller winners in Powerball in the last few weeks. We've had 4 players claim $50,000 prizes in Powerball in the last 2 weeks. Mega Millions has had a $10,000, $20,000, and a $30,000 winner. So hopefully we can get a big winner tonight or tomorrow in Mississippi and round out our year. As far as COVID-19, it's been up and down for us. We were on alternate schedules from March through June. That was a bit of a struggle because we're not really set up to have a lot of people who can work at home. We have hotline operators for retailers. We have hotline operators for players. Our computer system is not set up for people to work at home because a lot of the information that we have to access comes from the vendor's gaming system, because that's where all the financial transactions are processed, so all our financial information is calculated through that, and we have a backup internal control system that measures those sales and keeps everything in balance. So, as you can imagine, a large gaming vendor is not going to allow remote access into their gaming system for too many employees at the lottery. I have it, and a couple other senior level people have it. So they have to work through the gaming system, and you can't do that from home. So we did a lot of alternate schedules, every other days, shifts. We tried to make sure that everybody, we were able to accommodate everybody's personal needs through this difficult time, and as well as keep our operation up. However, we have been open full-time since June. It still is a challenge. People out pretty much every day. A number of people are out. Fortunately, we had not too many people. I think we've had 2 people that tested positive, but we have a lot of people who are around other people and they have to go get tested, and then they're out for a few days waiting the results of their test, and then there's their period of isolation. But we've been able to work through it, and I'm proud to say that the staff has done a great job. Our retailers have been fabulous. We have 1,830 retailers selling lottery tickets now. We started with 1,150 on the first day. Kroger Supermarkets has come on board with about a combination of 80 stores. Some of them are convenience, some of them are grocery. Walmart was detained a little because they have so many projects, so the virus has slowed down all of their projects. We had hoped that they were going to be up, and they had hoped to be up and selling by February or March. We do have monthly meetings with them scheduled for the remainder of this year. Their goal is to be up by the end of the fiscal year, but realistically, it's probably going to be after the fiscal year because of all the other projects that they have and other pieces of information that they're requiring from us that is just what I would say is not normal for what we've been asked for, but it's all relevant information to give to them. They have about 80-plus stores, so that, that will help. There are a few other convenience stores out there that still aren't selling. We were anticipating going into a recruitment program with our sales reps, but with everything going on, that hasn't started. They do go into the stores, but they do not spend much time there. They just want to go in and, provide the services that the retailers need as best as they can, but we try not to keep them in the stores too long. Instant Tickets still is our #1 selling product. Maybe there's a good shot this week. Powerball, Mega Millions, and our Daily Cash 3 combined may outsell Instant Tickets this week, but that still is our primary product and our primary source of income. We have a $20 instant game coming out in March. We've had a lot of requests from players, some retailers. Why don't you have a $20 game? Our top highest paying game right now is $10. And again, they base their comments on what they see around the borders in Tennessee. Arkansas have $20 games. Arkansas has like 4 out there right now. Louisiana had a limit of $10, but they had legislation change this past year, so they will be coming out with $20 games. So we're looking forward to getting that game out because, like I said, we have received a lot of player feedback for that. We are going to introduce a smaller in-state lotto-type game, and it's going to be called Mississippi Match 5. You select 5 numbers from a field of 35 numbers. It has a multiplier feature. The starting top prize is $50,000. It'll roll by $5,000 each time the jackpot isn't hit until sometime where we can build up a history where we can start seeing how sales are going, and we may be able to, at certain times, increase that jackpot by more than $5,000. We're very comfortable that from the start we can roll it by $5,000. We will have 3 draws a week to start. The attraction for this game is for Powerball and Mega Millions. Powerball, the odds of winning the top prize is 1 in 292 million. For Mega Millions, it's 1 in 302 million. Our in-state game, which is a smaller top prize, but it could get as high as $250,000. And the odds of winning the top prize are 1 in 324,000. It's still long. 1 in 1,000's long, but still, it's a very attractive game. Again, it's very common to every other lottery, has a 5-number game. So we will be rolling that out sometime in late April. And I think that's all the numbers I have for you. And Mr. Chairman, open to any questions anybody may have.
Any members of the committee? Senator Moran.
Thank you so much for coming today. A couple of things you mentioned, I think it was Arkansas, one of them, was looking at going to a $20 game, and they were getting legislation for that. You all can do that yourselves. You don't need legislation.
No. Senator, Louisiana had a legislation change.
Okay.
They were limited to $10
Okay.
until we got a lottery.
But you're not limited to that
No,
here.
we are not
Okay,
limited.
That's what I wanted to make sure you didn't need
Yes,
our
sir.
help for that. Okay.
Okay.
Next thing, I've got to believe that January sales, and it'll be interesting, and if you'll come back in February and let us know, I got to believe that January sales are going to be out the roof.
Yes.
Especially if it rolls over again tonight and tomorrow night. At that point, it seems to be a feeding frenzy. And would you agree with that?
Yes, we had our strongest week last week in gross sales. All products were 15.1 million, compared to, we were averaging, right around 8 million this fiscal year for each week. So we doubled last week.
Off the top of your head, just guess, what's the most single month income that you've had since we began?
This one
This month?
will be the biggest one.
Will be the biggest,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we had I believe we had a $47 million week, and started up with in one of those weeks when we had all the frenzy. I can go back and get you the exact figure. It was either 43 or 47. I'm guessing, especially with this week, we could go over 50 million for the month.
I said weeks, I'm thinking in terms of months, in other words, the month.
Yeah.
But, yes, thank you very much.
Any other members, questions for Mr. Shaheen? Yes, thank you. If you could provide a copy of the figures to the committee assistant that we can share with the members of the committee on the.
Okay,
Right.
we will.
I know you have a monthly report, I think, that comes out.
Yeah, you will be getting the quarterly financials for October, November, and December. Those should have gone out, those will be going out this week to you. I can get you those for everybody on the committee.
Great. I'll ask, you've been sending those to me, and I appreciate it. I'll ask you to send them going forward to the committee assistant, and she can distribute to each of you
Okay.
all copies of this stuff, so you're informed as to what's going on. I had a couple of questions for you. Is there anything that you need from us, from a legislative standpoint, to do what you think needs to be done for the lottery in Mississippi? Or is the legislation we have now sufficient?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, we do have some things we would like, but we're not anticipating bringing them forward this year. We're just not ready. We have a nice wish list that we're putting together, maybe some changes in the legislation that help us raise more money, but we are not at the point that we want to bring them forward this year, between trying to adjust to everything that's out there in the market. And we're still building our game portfolio, so we won't have anything for you this year.
Okay, thank you. Senator Delano?
So the Lottery Commission was set up as an entity that's a little new to state government. So we're kind of looking at how the relationship and how the efficiencies are working within your corporation and your daily functions, and how you're able to effectively maneuver based on what the market needs at a speed that's much faster than what most government entities can do. That being said, I think that there's some discussions about a similar type of an architecture for ABC and maybe some other entities in our state. Is there anything that you can add to to comments regarding how you work with your board and how that relationship has worked to help you be successful in your job?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, Senator, yes, the relationship has been fantastic. We have a excellent board. Their backgrounds vary to all the areas that we need. We have people with financial background. We have people with retailer background. We have people with just general operation, business background, private business perspective. We have a 5-member board. We meet quarterly. Individually, I probably have conversations with them, each one of them separately once a week, with just updates and discussions and how things are going. The board is very involved. They're very interested. We have one member, Mr. Chambly, with us today, who's been extremely helpful with this. And the Lottery Act is set up in such a way that responsibilities are assigned to the board, and then the board has the authority to assign certain responsibilities to me. So primarily the operational, day-to-day operational responsibilities, they have turned over to me. They keep an eye on it. I have to report on it quarterly, so it's not like I have a free pass on anything. But they know everything that I'm thinking, everything that we're planning, how we're going to do it. It makes for a great relationship. It's expeditious, like you said. We have something that we need them to look at or approve, we can do it once a quarter. And as long as we have everything in place for them, it works out really well. They have met in between quarters if we've had some type of special meeting to get something passed. So it's a wonderful relationship. I've worked in the lottery industry. I've worked with boards in several lotteries in New Mexico and Georgia and North Carolina. We had boards in all of those. So it is great for an entity such as us that's still a state entity but has some freedom to operate like a business. And my own personal belief in my 33 years of experience, and I've been at lotteries where they were state agencies, and this is the most successful model that you can have, because you have that business aspect of it, and yet, our mentality, and I tell every employee who works there, I don't care what the title says, Mississippi Lottery Corporation. I said there's 3 million people out in that state that view us as a state agency. And I said, and we're never going to be able to explain to anybody on the phone that we're not a state agency, so we don't try to do that. But this has been a tremendous experience.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Delano, for raising that question. This is something that I've been thinking about. In the case of the Gaming Commission, you have private business out there that is involved in the gaming business, and then you have the state, which regulates that business to see that everything's above board and honest. In your case, the Lottery Corporation is really not regulated by anybody. So you conduct the game and handle the money and deal with the vendors and are in the lottery ticket selling business.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not regulated by the Gaming Commission.
Correct.
So what's the second set of eyes that we need to have to make sure that everything at your shop and the way the business is being run is being above board?
Well, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, we do have a requirement for an internal audit function, and our board is in the process of interviewing people for that position. Of course, we have our year-end outside financial auditors that look at all of our financials. We do work directly with them throughout the year. Any type of question or concern that we may have about how we handle something financially, they've been available to advise us as to the best way to do it. But we will have this internal audit function. It's just been difficult lining up people to interview at this point in time, but I know the board's been working pretty hard. They've interviewed several candidates.
Does the state auditor have any audit authority over you, or are these strictly independent private auditors that you select to audit yourself?
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe I'm recalling the Lottery Act. Of course, they can come in anytime they want and ask any questions they want, but I don't believe, either of you know? Yeah, they can come, it just states that we're subject to the state auditor coming in.
Okay. Thank you, Meg. I think, we've got,
Yes.
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Peer attends the board meetings of the Lottery Corporation. I think I see Senator Blackwell has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've had a question come up from somebody. They go to the quickie shop, get gas, and go in, make a few purchases. They do it on a credit card or a debit card, but they can't buy a lottery ticket in that method. You have to pay cash. Can you explain why that is?
The Lottery Act doesn't address it. We established a rule based on best practices around most of the country that retailers have the option of taking debit, credit, or cash. We don't require that they have to take debit or credit cards. We just make that their option. The feeling was that we don't want to, they have that option for other things that they sell. I've been in places where they say cash only for this and cash only for that. So there is not a requirement at this time, either legislatively or by our rules. It's just their option. We do get a handful of calls every now and then about a retailer that's not going to take a debit or a credit card. The reason they don't take it is because we're not going to reimburse the retailers for those fees, and they incur a fee each time they do that. So that's the way it stands right now.
Senator Moran.
Addressing that, you just touched on it. I think part of the reasoning is if someone comes in to buy a $2 ticket and gives a debit card or a credit card, there is a fee.
Yes.
At that small amount, that's like if you walked in and bought a root beer and put it on a credit card and left. It's just not feasible. If they come in and bought $20, $30, $40 worth, it's a different story. But I know on the coast, I'm yet to see a place that takes the credit card. It's cash. That's a two-sided coin. Senator Younger just mentioned that we could possibly be missing out on some money, and because they don't take the debit card, I'm not here to say that's good or bad or whatever, but I think the reasoning behind it, you touched on it, is the fact that the initial fee is so small, because in fact, I've seen some places where there's a sign that said, cannot have any purchase less than $5 on
Yes.
a credit card, and that's because of that. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you, Senator Moran. I talked to Meg Annison, who is the communications director for the Lottery Corporation. She's here today. I would like to go at some point during the session, maybe when we have a slow week, and see each of these tickets and how the game. I've never bought a lottery ticket, and I think it's important for me at least to know what the experience of the customer is and how they work and what the odds are and how much money you win with the various games. So I'll be working with you at some point when it's convenient to just go out somewhere and see these tickets and see how the games work. And if anybody would like to go with me when we do that, I'll certainly make all the members of the committee know. Senator Blackwell, you want to?
I'd like to make the suggestion that the chairman buy all the committee members lottery tickets.
I should have done sports betting with the Saints on Sunday, but I'm glad I didn't. So,
One more comment.
okay, hold on. Senator Younger? Okay. See Mr. Shaheen after the meeting. Senator Moran?
One more comment. Thank you very much this morning for addressing something that you and Meg and I have talked about. Our little tickets, at some point when we run out of that stock, please try to go to one that looks like Louisiana. And the reason being is if you go across the state line and buy one today, it tells you that January the 19th, the amount was $850 million, the payout was 500, whatever. And thank y'all so much for gearing towards that. We don't want to waste any money by any means, but when that stock runs out, please go to a ticket that's a little thicker, a little bigger, but most importantly, has the amount at that particular time, because if I go back and I look at a ticket that's in my console from a month ago, unless I go get on the computer, I have no earthly idea what it was worth at the day I bought it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Louisiana's does, and but thank you so much, and I appreciate your comment this morning saying that y'all are looking at doing that. When the stock runs out, please don't waste any money, but at some point when we reorder, go to a little bit more substantial type ticket, please. Thank you.
Do we have an appointment or a reappointment to the corporation board to deal with this session? I think we staggered those terms when we set up that corporation initially. Do we have one coming up?
We have one coming August 14th, one board position expires. The individual is eligible for a 5-year additional appointment.
Okay. All right, well, keep us posted on that, so if we need to move quickly, we can do that.
It's every August, I think the date's August 14th, I believe, Meg, something like that. Every August, there'll be one expiring. We had one last year. The individual was reappointed to a 5-year term.
Right. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, members of the committee. As of right now, we don't plan to meet again, but if that changes, we'll be sure to let you know. Motion
Motion.
is
Rise and report.
rise and report. Thank you very much.